So anyway, because I was able to take that time, meet with him in person, really dive into what happened, what was the timeline, like literally to post him, where did you get on the highway? How long were you there? Did you ever change lanes? Like I went through the whole deposition. And because I was able to help him properly navigate that conversation and get into a medical provider, he ended up with a six-figure case that had gotten rejected from four other law firms. So I think that, if you're someone who is being misunderstood, um, definitely keep trying. Don't give up. You might potentially have a case. It's just a matter of getting the right person who's willing to take the time and speak with you.
Hello and welcome to the Attorney Post, where we give you the inside scoop with top attorneys in their field. And now, here's our host, Justin West.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Attorney Post, where we discuss what's going on in various facets of the law with attorneys at the top of their game to help you navigate the various ins and outs of legal fields and jurisdictions, because, as I always say, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. Today, I'm very pleased to be joined by Rose Harper, who runs the eponymous law firm that bears her name. Rose, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Well, before I begin, as always, we're going to jump over and take a look at your site. This is the law firm of Rose Harper Law. It's a growing personal injury law firm. It serves clients across New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. The firm focuses almost exclusively on representing injury victims, including car accidents, truck accidents, pedestrian accidents, slip and falls, wrongful deaths, etc., all while maintaining an estate planning practice as well. A major differentiator that she has is, of course, she is a bilingual professional, so she speaks English and Spanish, and her law firm serves people in English and Spanish as well. And yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And if you want, you can visit her online. That is roseharperlaw.com, roseharperlaw.com. I'm assuming she gives free consultations like most attorneys. You can also give her a call at 201 377-2337, and we will have, as always, links to her information and phone number and everything else down below in the description as well. But that is roseharperlaw.com. Before we get started, as always, we are going to read from our sponsors. Our first sponsor is SearchSift. Do you know why in the ad space some costs, especially in legal, can cost $100, $200, even $500 or more to advertise in Google? It's not because Google has a magical make things expensive for lawyers button. It's because Google Ads is an auction. And when 5 or 10 or 20 law firms are bidding on the same high intent search phrase like car accident lawyer, divorce lawyer, criminal defense lawyer, etc., or any other field that's out there, the price just goes up and up and up. But here's what most firms and other businesses miss. Before someone ever clicks on an ad, before they ever see the map pack, before they ever choose a law firm or a business to work with, Google's already shaping the search with autocomplete suggestions, and that's where SearchSift comes in. SearchSift helps position your firm or your business earlier in the search journey inside the predictive searches, so people see that before they make their decision. What's really cool is when they do that search, everything on page 1 is about you and none of your competitors, which is really cool. And on top of that, they actually will rank you for free, which is really, really cool. So visit SearchSift, that's SearchSyft.com. We'll have a link to them down below in the description as well. You can book a time to speak with them and get a demo of how it works, because it is actually a really cool service, and it's usually less than half the cost, sometimes even a quarter or a tenth of the cost of running a Google Ads campaign. That's SearchSift.com. And our second sponsor today is Groove Funnels. If you're running an online business, that doesn't mean you should be paying 12 different tools before you've ever even made a sale, and that's why Groove is a thing. Groove gives entrepreneurs, creators, and marketers one platform for funnels, checkouts, emails, memberships, e-commerce, blogs, webinars, affiliate automation, and more. There's no credit card, there's no trial that flips, there's no monthly software bill. Just to get started, Groove simply uses a small platform fee whenever you actually do sell a product, so you don't have to be duct taping your business together with a bunch of different subscriptions. You can simply get started today. Visit theattorneypost.com/groove to start for free and never pay. That is theattorneypost.com/groove. And again, we will have links to our sponsors down below. Alrighty, jumping back over to the site, I'm going to go ahead and kill the screen share here. So again, today I am joined by Rose. Rose is the founder of Rose Harper Law, go figure. She is a personal injury attorney licensed in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Rose has spent more than a decade representing accident victims and helping families navigate some of the most difficult moments of their lives. Alongside her injury practice, she's also passionate about estate planning and helping families protect what they've built. She's a mother of 3, serves a bilingual client base, and has built a firm centered on communication, compassion, and aggressive advocacy when it matters most. Rose is also preparing to launch her own podcast, Believe and Bloom, making today's conversation especially fun because we're going to get to interview someone who's about to sit on the other side of the microphone. So, having said all that, there was a mouthful, and I don't think I even scratched the surface. So my first question to Rose, as always, is just what did I miss? What should people know about you that I didn't get a chance to mention?
That was really comprehensive and amazing. So thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Just that, I grew up in a really small town. I come from Croton on Hudson, New York. It's 45 minutes north of Manhattan. And I don't come from a family of lawyers or professionals or entrepreneurs. So I'm really on this amazing growth journey right now. And that's part of the inspiration for me wanting to start a podcast, Believe in Bloom, because so much of my journey has been, you know, realizing what are my beliefs about my own capabilities and my goals and what is my God-given purpose. And that's kind of helped me along the way find what I should be doing each day. And I'm just so interested in other people's stories along that same journey.
Awesome. So I've done some research. I know what you do, but assuming you and I were on an elevator and I had never met you before and we got 30 seconds as we're going up, right? Tell me, give me in 30 seconds, give me a pitch for your firm. Tell me who you specifically help, why they choose to work with you, what sets you apart from everyone else.
People choose to work with Rose Harper Law when they've been injured after an accident that was not their fault, because we really focus on making sure that our clients understand the medical process, the insurance process, and the legal process. Ultimately, we educate our clients to empower them to make the best decisions for their goals because it's their case and it's their injuries. So we are here to guide and support and get done what they want to accomplish.
That makes sense. That's a good way to put it. So let me ask you this: what got you into law? Were you a little girl that always knew you wanted to be an attorney? Did you have like, lawyer Barbie or whatever, or did you grow up watching L.A. Law or Perry Mason reruns or something like that, or did you just kind of stumble into it and figure out, you know what, I kind of have a knack for this? And then what got you into both PI and estate? I have an idea about why you do both of those, but I'll let you tell us.
Yeah, so I did not know that I wanted to be a lawyer until after college, actually. I had my first child when I was really young, and I think that that forced me to identify really quickly how can I financially support my son and myself in a career path that I also enjoy and feel comes naturally to me. So I really focused on identifying, okay, what are my God-given skill sets? What do I enjoy doing? Where do those paths intersect? And how can I pursue them in a way that financially provides for my son? So those were kind of the thought processes that I went through. I happen to have one aunt who was a small town lawyer, and I interned for her. And she really inspired me. I just thought, wow, she's such an amazing resource to the elderly community. She was not a businesswoman, so like people would call her with different questions every day, and she would just say, "Oh, tell them to give me a few hours," and then she would go research it and then provide them the information for free, of course. But that was just like so inspiring to me. I thought, wow, this is really interesting. I'll get to learn something new every day, get to help people. So she really inspired me, and that was a really critical moment in my life when I was deciding what I actually wanted to pursue career-wise.
Awesome. And then what got you into particularly PI, but also estate planning?
Yeah, so I think that along the way, your path kind of finds you.
Mhm.
So my aunt had passed away my first year of law school, and coming out of law school, I went to law school in New Jersey, but I wanted to go back home and live with my family. I come from like a big Irish and Italian family, and everyone's in Westchester County, New York, so I wanted to go home. So I had no connections to try to find a job. So I had to work my way up. My first job out of law school, I was working for a solo practitioner, part-time, no benefits. But then as soon as I got my resume up and up, I was able to get a position in Manhattan at a defense firm. So I actually started out doing insurance defense work through workers' comp. And then that position led me to a general liability defense firm. And then that position led me into in-house at Liberty Mutual. I got trial experience protecting businesses against claims. So I initially started out on the other side of the table, and then I took 2.5 years off to have my two youngest children. I have three children total. And coming back into the workforce, I thought, well, I didn't really go to law school to, save the insurance company a few dollars. I went because I want to actually help people and families like mine. So that's when I realized, like, okay, even though I love litigation and I think I have really amazing trial skills, so I still want to pursue that, I'd rather help people. So then I went on a plaintiff side and got a position at a firm doing plaintiff's work and just fell in love with it. Now I'm plaintiff side for life and I love helping people. And coming out on my own, having my own law firm, I really wanted to build a community for myself. And also, as a part of my financial health journey was putting in an estate plan for my own family. So that's kind of what inspired me. Like I knew I wanted to keep pursuing personal injury and help people after accidents, but I also wanted to help families that need to get into place a plan to protect their family financially, because I just realized how important it was for me having three kids to get that plan in place.
Yeah.
So that's why I offer that service as well.
Well, I was wondering because I see a lot of times when somebody's injured, obviously it's tragic, and your job is to help them get as close to normal as possible again. And I've heard horror stories of people having the lottery syndrome where they get a windfall settlement and in 3 to 5 years they're bankrupt because they don't know what they don't know. They don't know how to manage the money. They buy things more expensive and whatnot. And I kind of wonder, I've talked to a number of attorneys in the PI space that also provide estate planning. And one of the ideas is always behind it is now that you have this money, let's be wise with it and set it up so that you can live. Because it's supposed to, obviously some of it is meant to just improve quality of life, but you also want to make sure that they're taken care of. If there's going to be medical bills in the future, that there's, dividends or money or interest or something accruing on it or whatnot. Is that a part of what you do as well? And do you give that kind of advice to your clients?
Yes, definitely. I mean, especially when I have a young client who's receiving a lot of money, or maybe it's a family where I know they don't have any retirement savings, or maybe they're even struggling paycheck to paycheck, or they have a special needs child. I mean, these are all things that really need to go into consideration. And I always encourage people also, like, do not tell don't tell your family or friends how much money you received. And, really just encourage them to seek out those professionals. Like I don't sell life insurance or I'm not a financial advisor, but, I really care about my clients. I want to make sure that they have access to, anyone that they need. So if anyone asks me or comes to me, of course, I will connect them with anyone I can. And, on top of that, something that people don't really realize is like a lot of times with accidents, well, like one person has passed away, right? Or even after litigation has started, maybe someone's just passing away from old age. These things happen, and then a probate estate needs to be opened in court, in order to continue to pursue the case. So there actually is quite a bit of overlap with regard to estate planning and personal injury that I think people don't realize.
Gotcha. I got a question for you. You practice in three states, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. I've worked with and known a number of attorneys in all three of those states. And you've been practicing for about 10 years now, if I'm not mistaken, if I got that right in the intro. So that tells me that right in the middle of you beginning your practice, maybe a few years in, all of a sudden the whole world kind of shut down, and here you are trying to navigate a multi-state law firm. How did that affect you and your clients?
Yeah, so during COVID actually is when I took 2.5 years off and I had my two youngest children. So I had my son Oliver, who's now 7, and then my daughter Mary is now 4. So it's been a long time now. Like it feels like, wow, that was like a lifetime ago. But yeah, so I had two pregnancies during that time, and we actually had moved out to the Midwest for my ex-husband's career. He wanted to pursue a job out there. So I wasn't licensed there. The whole world shut down. And we just thought, okay, this is a good time for us to have our kids and kind of navigate family life. So we did that. And at that time, I was only licensed in New York and New Jersey. And then we moved to Pennsylvania for his next career opportunity. And that's when I realized, okay, I'm getting closer to home. I think I can. I think I can find a firm that will bring me on. So I was able to do that. And then shortly after going out on my own, so I opened my law firm in 2024. And at that time, COVID was already over, everything was back to normal. And I got licensed in Pennsylvania 2025 because as a lawyer, you have to get licensed in the state in order to be working there. But because we were moving for his career, I mean, I didn't work when we were living in Ohio. And then in Pennsylvania, I wanted to make sure, okay, are we remaining here long term? Because I didn't want to get a third state license and then I'm moving back to New Jersey next year. So you kind of got to give it a little time and space. So initially living in Pennsylvania, I was only having cases in New York and New Jersey. And that was a little bit rough because we lived far, it was an hour away. I like really like being close to the community, networking, being available. So now that I'm licensed in all three, it's absolutely a dream. I live in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I am able to get into Manhattan within an hour and a half. I'm in Philadelphia within an hour. So it's pretty like a really nice spot that I'm in. I love it.
My mother-in-law lives in my mother-in-law lives in Allentown, so I'm very familiar with the area. We're up
Oh,
there
okay, yeah.
every year. In fact, in about 3 weeks, we'll be heading out that way. Although I don't know if we're going to make it to Allentown this year, but we'll make it. My wife's family, they're all from Pennsylvania, so her dad lives about 100 miles in from the Ohio border on I-80, and then she
Yeah.
lives out in Allentown. So I'm very familiar. So obviously you've got three locations: Hawthorne, Allentown, and Parsippany. So
Yeah.
one in each state. Great reviews, by the way, a 5.0 on all three of them.
Thank
That is we call that a hat trick, right?
you.
That's very impressive that you have a 5.0 rating with over 100 and some odd. I didn't do the math. 140, 150 reviews, give or take. Batting 1,000 right now. So that's pretty amazing across multiple states.
Thank
Um, do you serve people all over all of the states? Do you mostly focus on certain areas or regions or counties? Are there some places that are no man's land or no woman's land that you just
you.
don't touch? Or how does that play out?
No, right now I have clients throughout all of New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. I've been really blessed. I mean, I think that most of my clients come from, personal connections and referrals. So they purposefully want to work with me. They're reaching out because they want me to represent them. And I think that's one of the best advances that we've had since COVID is that most things you're able to do virtually now, and people are used to that. So we can get on a video call, even for court conferences, depositions, those are all video now. So, I mean, some people are going back to in person, but for the most part, you can do almost everything,
The
at a distance.
paradigm has shifted and everyone got used to it. And my goodness, it's convenient, right?
Right, right.
Here we
So,
are having a
it's been really
conversation 1,000 miles away, actually,
yeah,
probably 1,300 miles away, give or
this
take.
is a perfect example. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. You've been practicing law for a little while now. Obviously, starting a multi-state firm, you're still in I'm gonna say your law firm's infancy stage, but it's not super, super old and well established yet. I am sure, as they say, you step up to bat enough, nobody bats 1,000. I'm sure you've had a couple of swings and a miss here and there. What is one of the failures that you've had in the process of setting up your law firm? It could be anything from, a witness says the wrong thing to you didn't fill out the paperwork in time to whatever it happens to be. But what did you learn from that, and how do you carry that forward to make sure you're always giving the best care to your clients?
I think one of the difficulties in being an entrepreneur, regardless of what business you're in, is you're wearing all of the hats at the beginning. And then as you're growing, sometimes like for me, one of the things that happened with me, I didn't realize like how quickly I needed to bring team members on to help me. I was just still kind of like, well, I can, I'm good, I can do it. And then by the time I realized, like, oh, wait, like, I need to bring on people to like support me. I don't have to do it all on my own. Um, it was like, oh, wait, now I have to take time out to train them and make sure that they're good to go with what they're doing. So I think that it would have benefited me to bring people on sooner
Mhm.
and have a better process for bringing them on. So that would be my advice to anyone starting any type of business. Like, immediately keep in mind, okay, well, when do you need to bring on team members? What will that look like? And how will that process be? I wish that had went smoother for me. So that's something that I wish I could redo. But I'm in a really good place now and I have a really strong team. So, but I'm in my second full calendar year. So those are kind of like growing pains the first year. You're kind of like figuring it out. I never hired someone. So
I've talked to law firms that are still trying trying to figure that out in the 10th year, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you're 2 years
Funny.
in and you've already hit those growing pains, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad.
True, true.
So the flip side of that coin, though, is success. You're doing things right. Like definitively, your reviews say this. You're clearly doing things right. What is one of the things that you're most proud of in your legal career thus far?
I think probably the connections that I've made with my clients. I mean, that's the most meaningful thing to me. Sometimes I even have people who come to me and it's just not the right case for me, or maybe not the right time for me to take it on or my team. And I'm really intentional about that. So I've actually referred out a lot of cases already. And one of the things that I love about that, or that is so like unique, I feel like, is that even when I place a potential client with another law firm, they still really they call us, they want to interact with us, so they keep us on along the way. But I really love it. I just feel like that's kind of the goal of what I wanted, was like a community, like I'm their legal resource. Like they see me as their go-to legal resource, and that's such a blessing and an honor and a responsibility. So that's one of my biggest successes, I think. And I've just had like these unique cases. Like I had this one guy, and four other law firms had turned him away. They didn't believe him. They were refusing to take his case. He speaks Spanish, and since I'm bilingual, I was able to speak with him directly instead of speaking through an interpreter. And he was just so adamant that he did not cause this accident and no one was listening to him. And so, I had just opened my firm. So I was like, all right, like, come meet with me. I'll meet with you. I have the time. So I sat and met with him, and I pulled up the Google images, and I had him bring his photos, and he was like talking me through what happened. And this particular individual, he really had only an elementary school education, and his communication wasn't great to begin with. And even the words that he was choosing to use was like a little bit like unusual or unclear, the way he was describing things. But I took the time, I actually deposed him. So I like deposed him essentially to investigate and rephrase things to him. Like, okay, so you're saying this. And he was like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm like, well, the way you're expressing yourself, that's how it sounds. And he's like, that's not what happened at all. And I'm like, okay, so tell me again in a different way. So then he rephrased it. And then I was essentially able to discern that the way he was expressing the happening of the accident made it seem, that's why people were like not even continuing an intake
Yeah.
specialist isn't going to know to ask additional questions. So they're just like, oh, you don't have a case. Um, but it turns out that he was describing the roadway in the area where the accident occurred, that it curved. And but he never moved out of his lane. He was always in his proper lane, and the other driver is the one that changed lanes and hit him. So anyway, because I was able to take that time, meet with him in person, really dive into what happened, what was the timeline, like literally depose him. Where did you get on the highway? How long were you there? Did you ever change lanes? Like I went through the whole deposition. And because I was able to help him properly navigate that conversation and get into a medical provider, he ended up with a six-figure case that had gotten rejected from four other law firms. So I think that, if you're someone who is being misunderstood, definitely keep trying. Don't give up. You might potentially have a case. It's just a matter of getting the right person who's willing to take the time and speak with you.
That's that's awesome and good on you. Good for him too. That's it's fortunate to have someone who actually give you the time of day and listen, and that sometimes that makes all the difference in the world.
Mhm.
So this is one of my favorite questions to ask, and it's only because I find that attorneys deal with a lot of absurdity, and absurdity always makes for good podcast fodder. I'm sure that you've encountered a few really absurd situations in your practice of law, in your legal career. What's one of the most like standoutish things that you can share that was just, you know, makes you smack your head and roll your eyes and think, why is this happening and why is it the way that it is?
You did mention this question, and when you mentioned it, I was like, I don't know if I have something really cool to share. I mean, one of the cases that sticks with me is I had like a young girl who fractured her hand in a defective door at a train station. And I mean, I went through so many depositions, and I mean, ultimately, the judge dismissed the case. The judge dismissed the case. I just think sometimes the protections that the law puts into place for municipalities, um, it really, really overly protects the government and maybe puts some really vulnerable people, um, dealing with the damages and results, when they should be compensated for their injuries. That's my opinion.
You
But,
mean the government puts laws into place to protect itself? Get out of here.
that, to the extreme sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
So, um, I think that that's one of, like, that case sticks with me. I just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, man." And then also, I think, like, people don't realize there's, like, a lot of lobbying that goes on with, like, the rideshare companies and insurance companies and all of that. So that's all in the background, happening. So sometimes laws can change, requirements can change, how much policy you have to have and things like that. So there's just so much that goes in. I think a lot of people just think like, oh, car accident is like simple, but it can get pretty complicated pretty quick.
No, absolutely.
Mhm.
So this is a very, very important question. I need you to take this with the utmost seriousness.
Okay, let's see.
Who's your favorite fictional attorney? Or do you have one?
Oh yeah, my cousin Vinny.
Yeah. Probably the number one answer I get whenever I ask
Yeah.
that question. We'll
Oh
get
yeah.
we'll get what's his face from Suits. We'll get a couple other people, but my cousin Vinny by far is the one that most people side with. That's awesome.
Yeah. Or what is her name? Keating, Angelique Keating,
Uh,
from How to Get Away with Murder.
oh, okay. I don't know if I
Oh
know that one.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that was on like a years back, years back. It was a series.
How to Get
Oh,
Away
she
with
was
Murder.
great.
Hmm.
Yeah, so she was
I'll put that on
good.
my watch queue.
But also, yeah, definitely like My Cousin Vinny is classic.
That's awesome. So I'm going to shift tone here a little bit. Well, first off, I'm going to ask about your podcast. I want you to have time to talk about that. You're starting a podcast. Why? What are you going to be talking about? What's the focus going to be? Where are people going to be able to find you on that podcast?
You know what? This is so great that you're asking me about this because no one has asked me about it, and I put it on my LinkedIn profile to hold myself accountable. And now you're really holding me accountable. So now I'm gonna have to come out with it this year. It was a goal
Light
for
the
this
fire
year.
under you. You're welcome. I don't even charge for that service.
It was a goal that I had for this year, and I have not moved forward at all on it. So this is a great reminder. We're midway through the year, so I'm gonna have to do just that. But I think part of what I love about what I do is being able to connect with people. And I think that with the podcast, it just brings that ability, like, and that consistency to getting to know people and connect more. So that really is enticing to me about starting a podcast. And part of, what it is to be a jury trial attorney is to be able to tell stories. And I think that it's through our storytelling and testimonies that we can really learn a lot. And so that's a part of the goal with the podcast, is to have a platform where people can give their testimony as to their journey, where maybe the odds were against them, but because they were able to, believe in themselves or overcome, hurdles, they were ultimately able to succeed. Those are the types of stories that I'm looking to highlight.
Awesome. Well, when it goes live, reach out to us and I'll make sure to update the page on our website so people can find it, find whatever you're going to post it on. I highly recommend if you're doing informational content that's entertaining, put it on TikTok, put it on Instagram, put it on all
Yeah.
those platforms. I accidentally grew a channel to millions and millions of views.
Hey,
Not this
congrats.
one, but a totally different channel. Because you never even know what platforms are going to take off. And I never would have been on a platform like TikTok. I don't like TikTok. It's not my jam, but I had a system that would like incidentally put it on TikTok. I'm like, I might as well put it there anyway. And lo and behold, that one took off, and never turned off. It's still growing to this day, which is really kind of fun. So,
That's
um,
amazing.
so there we go. So let me ask you this. You practice in three different states. Are there certain things you do in some states but not others? So, for instance, I know that some states are really persnickety about things like caps on medical malpractice, and other states are not. Like I know New York doesn't. I actually work with an attorney in New York City on a regular basis. But I've also worked with attorneys in Pennsylvania, and I've worked with at least one in New Jersey, but I don't think he did medical mal. So tell me about what you practice and where are there certain things that you kind of avoid, and how do you make that decision?
Yes. So each state definitely has its nuances. Um, from my perspective, I feel like New York is way more plaintiff friendly. I think that they give every opportunity possible for someone to pursue their claim. Whereas the court system in New Jersey, I find to be more similar to a federal process, and the judges in New Jersey will dismiss your case if you're not moving it along. There's a lot of differences in the permanency standards between the states, also how much insurance you have to cover, in order to drive your vehicle. New Jersey is a pay-to-play state, meaning that if you accidentally allowed your auto insurance to lapse and you drove your car and somebody else hit you, even though you didn't cause the accident, because you did not have insurance coverage on the date of the accident, you cannot bring a claim for your injuries against the at-fault driver. So that's like a really strict standard in New Jersey. Another difference in Pennsylvania, for example, is that the insurance companies are not required to disclose their policy limits pre-litigation. And that's kind of a big deal because when you have clients who maybe are going for surgery or something serious like that, and I don't know if they only have a $15,000 policy limit and the medical liens could exceed that alone, that's when it gets really tricky. And I don't really like that. So I like to keep really, really close attention, especially on my Pennsylvania cases. What's the status of the medical treatment? I'm constantly in contact with the bodily injury adjuster. Um, to just see when they will disclose the limits. Obviously, if it's a catastrophic case, you can get the limits right away because, they know that their policy is at risk here. Otherwise, you have to file the lawsuit. But in New York or New Jersey, because they are required to disclose the limits up front, um, you can get a lot of your cases actually settled pre-litigation without having to go through the litigation process. And that saves the court time and money, and it saves, the insurance company time and money. I think it's a much better process, and more honest and open. I'm hoping Pennsylvania changes their laws at some point because I just really don't think that's fair. I don't think someone should be going through treatment that they didn't even want to have to get in the first place because they didn't cause the accident. And now they're having to worry about they have no idea what the policy limit is.
What is one of the biggest, let's say, misunderstandings that people bring into your office when they come and they consult with you?
A big thing is like people think that they're going to have to pay me up front, or they're worried about, paying for an attorney. And as a personal injury attorney, I work on contingency. So I do free consultations. I only get paid if I win money for them. And even if I, worked for 3 years on their case and spent $10,000 on expert reports, if a jury decides against us and says, no, we're not giving you any money, my clients don't owe me anything. Like I understood the risk. I thought they had a winning case, and if that's what the result is, they don't pay me out of their pocket. I only get paid if I win for them.
It's one of the things I've always really appreciated about PI law is you guys really are in a lot of ways an equalizer. You get a bad rap, oh, they're ambulance chasers or whatever, but you guys, you're a stopgap. Like you really are. You're filling a need that people
Yeah,
who are at the worst moment of their lives sometimes, they've
yeah.
lost a loved one or they can no longer walk, they can no longer work. Like these are the people that would be cast aside in almost any other scenario or situation. But you guys step into the breach and you take the onus on yourself. Now, obviously, you can only win what you can win, and not every case is a winnable case. Like I get that, but I've always really appreciated the PI law firm model because I think what you guys do is utterly unique and you've got skin in the game. Like I like that concept because it encourages you to get the biggest settlement possible for your client because you get a percentage of that. And I think it's a really neat concept. So I've always been a big fan.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I think we do get a bad rap. And well, we're also in one of those positions where it's like, I actually hope you never have to call me. Like,
Oh
I
yeah.
hope you don't have to call me. I hope you're not hurt, but if you do, I'm available.
Speaking of lawyers and bad raps, do you have a favorite lawyer joke?
I don't know that I have many lawyer jokes. I'm gonna have to maybe I'll reserve that and I'll bring one to the next podcast. Maybe I'll have you on my podcast and then we'll talk about it.
I always have a couple in the back. One of them that shows the onus people have for lawyers. And again, part of the purpose of this podcast is to humanize the attorney. I want people to feel comfortable, when you see other, what do you call 1,000 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean?
What?
A good start, right? Or
Oh
what's the
man.
difference between a bad lawyer and a good lawyer? A bad lawyer might drag your case out for years. A good lawyer will drag your case out for years. I've always liked those jerks. I've always thought having a healthy sense of self-deprecating humor is important, and
Yeah.
we should always be able to not take ourselves too seriously. Well, we're already coming up on the end of. I know you have a hard stop, so I want to be respectful of your time. Here in a minute, I'm going to ask you those three closing questions. Before I do that, I'm going to jump back over and take a look at your site one more time. Again, I am talking with Rose Harper, who runs the eponymous law firm that bears her name, Rose Harper Law. You can visit her online at roseharperlaw.com or give her a call at 201-377 2337. She is an injury law firm, or she's an injury attorney. Her firm specializes in injury law in three different states: New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Beautiful, beautiful Pennsylvania. Our final sponsor for today is Rank with News. When somebody Googles your company or your firm, what do they actually see? Is it your website, or do they see real credibility, trust, and authority? Because businesses that are getting chosen today aren't just visible, they're validated. And that's where Rank with News comes in. Rank with News helps feature you or your firm or your business in major media outlets like Business Insider, Yahoo News, AP News, Yahoo Finance, and more. So when prospects look you up, they're not just finding you, they're finding that they trust you. It isn't about running more ads, it's about owning your reputation at the exact moment that it matters. Visit rankwithnews.com or rankwith.news to speak with a specialist and find a time to learn how you can leverage the power of news branding to grow your business or firm. Alrighty, so Rose, question number one. I have a magic wand, and if I took this magic wand and I gave it to you, and you could wave it and make one change to your firm as it currently exists right now, what would you change about your firm?
Probably, having more people know about us, that they can reach out to us. It's a free consultation, and that even if it's an area that I don't practice, I'm happy to open up my network. I have a pretty robust professional network. I'm a very social person, so I know, the top attorneys in every field, especially since I've been a lawyer for over a decade. So happy to be a legal resource, and you can reach out and we'll help you get placed with the right firm for you.
There you go. It's a good way to turn that question. That's good. Question number two. We go back in time without breaking the space-time continuum, maybe 10 years ago when you were fresh out of law school, and you're able to give young Rose some advice. What advice would you give yourself fresh out of law school, and maybe by extension, somebody else fresh out of law school?
Fresh out of law school, go for the skills. What skills do you want to learn? And then just keep moving along, acquiring as many skills and developing them as quickly as possible. There's those skills are transferable. You can lateral move into whatever practice area you want. But I think focusing on the skills.
Okay, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. Okay, question number three. So I have a magical pin here. It's actually a miraculous pin. I'm going to give a free shout out to kansasmonks.org. This is a monastery of monks that live together, and I think one of the priests there must have blessed this pin because it has miraculous ink. However, it's almost out of ink. So I could loan you this pen, but there's only enough ink to make one little change. You can strike a law from the books, you can add a law or edit a law. If I were to loan you my miraculous pen, Rose, what law would you strike, add, edit, or change?
Oh, that insurance companies have to disclose their policy limits pre-litigation in Pennsylvania.
I actually wondered if you were going to go with that one when you said that earlier. I'm like, oh, I bet I know where this is going to go. But
Maybe.
we'll see. No, that works.
Give us some
Congratulations. You changed
limits.
the law just like that. Well, that's awesome. Well, Rose, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me and my listeners today. I always do like to let my guests have the final words. Are there any last words or thoughts that you'd like to leave our listeners with before we end the podcast today?
Just, thank you so much for having me. It was really great chatting with you, and I'm happy to connect with you and, get to know your community as well.
Awesome. Well, I was very pleased to have you on, and thank you very much for joining us today. As always, this has been the Attorney Post. I've been talking with the lovely Rose Harper, who runs the law firm that bears her name, Rose Harper Law. As always, though this podcast does discuss legal issues, it is not legal advice, and if you have a legal issue, you should always seek the advice of a competent attorney in your area who specializes in the matters you need help with. Now, obviously, if you're in the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, or Pennsylvania, and you or a loved one has been injured, I think Rose would be a wonderful resource for you. And as always, because she's in PI, it's a free consultation. And as I always say, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. So make the phone call as soon as you can and figure out what your rights are, because they can help walk you through that process. As far as the podcast goes, if you're watching us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share as always. If you're watching us or listening on any other podcast repositories, Apple, Stitch, or Spotify, please feel free to rate this podcast as well. But the number one thing you can do to help us grow this podcast is if you know someone who would benefit from the knowledge in this particular podcast, if they would benefit from being connected with Rose, please share this podcast with them and help them get the answers that they need. Because as I always say, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. Until next time, this is Justin West signing off. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you soon.